So maybe you're a weightlifter, a powerlifter, a track and field athlete, basically any sport that involves lifting weights or following a strength training program. Chances are you might have had a period where you were improving rapidly, like you were breaking personal records every week, everything was fun, you were looking forward to every session, you set big goals for yourself, but then everything suddenly stopped. You suddenly stopped progressing. What happened here? For instance, before you could progress like 5 kilograms at a time, but now you struggle to even increase 1 kilogram in a particular lift. Maybe there is a weight you just can't seem to break through. You have reached some sort of a ceiling. And this is called a plateau. And one of the biggest reasons athletes get stuck in a plateau during their training is this. You see, when you're new in any activity or any training regimen or program, you will always progress the fastest in the beginning because this is something new to your body. Think of something you're very good in, perhaps playing a guitar, driving or singing, whatever. Chances are you were improving the most rapidly at the beginning because everything was new and everything was foreign to you. You were very curious. But naturally things will start to slow down because the party can't go on forever, of course. And this same principle is very evident when it comes to sports especially. And if you can't see desirable results anymore, it affects your enthusiasm. And if your enthusiasm is affected, your results get affected in turn, so it becomes this vicious circle. Therefore, if we stick to the same training regimen that has stopped working and we keep giving the body the same kind of stimulus all the time despite that, this is a recipe for disaster and we may experience overtraining from that. Now, overtraining is quite a broad term that is thrown around everywhere in the world of strength and conditioning or fitness, bodybuilding, whichever department you are enthusiastic about. But it involves some different subcategories actually. There is one type of overtraining that involves following a monotonous program, which means that it's not necessarily like the load that makes you overtrain, but doing the same kind of things every time, like the same order, the same repetition range, the same intensity, all of that. Like, this is quite a psychological aspect of overtraining because you lose enthusiasm. It's like you're doing the same thing over and over again and things start to get boring for you. Imagine you eat the same food every day or wear the same t-shirt, the same jacket to school every day. You get bored of it, you grow bored, you want something new, and your body works the same way. Likewise, we have another subcategory of overtraining that is related to overwork, and this has to do more with the intensity. Like, you're giving your body too much intensity and it doesn't have the time to... It exceeds the body's ability to recover and adapt to that intensity. Like, it's too much fast of a pace. And there is two additional subcategories of this overwork, as you can see here. We have the short term, which is just like a bump on the road. Like, you have gone too hard on a program, you should rest for like 1 week and that's probably enough. But then we have the chronic overtraining, and that is more long-term overtraining. And now you have really, it's more of a mental thing. Like, this could take weeks to even months for some people to recover from. Like, it's a serious burnout. This happens when you basically take your training to the extreme and don't allow your body to breathe for 1 freaking second. Like, you give it the same stimulus long term, day after day after day. Considering you don't even get injured, you will get this chronic overtraining, and this is an area you really don't want to enter into because it will take you a long time to recover from it. So let me give you an example here. Suppose we have a powerlifter. He follows his own training regimen where his goal is to increase his strength in the 3 powerlifting categories: the squat, the deadlift and the bench press. And he usually sticks to 3 repetitions in his workout. For instance, 3 sets or 5 sets of 3 reps at a heavy intensity, say around 80 to 90% of his 1 repetition maximum. So he trains around this range for a couple of weeks, then he decides to break a record every 4th or 5th week or so, and for one period this works perfectly fine. He breaks a couple of records here and there, but then his training regimen stops working. He's not breaking records anymore. In fact, he is getting weaker, and this is because his body has gotten used to this training regimen and this style of doing things. And not only that, but overtraining has also occurred because he keeps pushing his body in a similar way despite this. Now, what would be a wise thing to do when we have reached such a point where you have followed a specific training regimen which gave you initial results, but now it has stopped working? First of all, chill out a little bit. Allow your body to recover. Introduce some deloading until you feel fit to go again. This might take some days or even a week. You can know this. You will feel it in your head. And then decide on a new training intervention. What needs to be changed? Perhaps you stuck to 3 repetitions before. Try 5 repetitions, or do another exercise variation of the same category. For example, instead of a regular squat, you can try pulse squats for a period. We'll talk more about this in the end of this video, but just do something new. Give your body something new, because it has obviously grown bored of it and it doesn't work anymore. Isn't that enough evidence that something needs to be changed? And number 3, implement that training intervention. As simple as that. Follow your new plan, but nothing is written in stone. Even if you follow this new plan, be open to change if it's needed, if this new plan is not working. Basically, it all comes down to variation. Not only will training variation fight the boredom from doing the same thing over and over again, but it will also raise adaptation. Chances are you will have more fun now with something new that you can look forward to. You will think to yourself, finally, I've gotten bored of that previous training regimen that is not even working anymore. This new program, it sounds exciting. Your enthusiasm will rise, and because your enthusiasm rises, you will have more fun, your body will respond better, and you're back on the winning column. All of those factors will be like a chain reaction, just affecting each other. You know the feeling you get when you buy a new suit and you can finally set aside your old one. This is what you should be feeling now. You go to a new country, like everything is exciting, everything is new. And this is the essence of variation. And without sounding like some freaking health magazine at the counter of a gas station, life as a whole gets more exciting with variation. But obviously this is easier said than done, because a lot of athletes, they don't have that mental capacity to do such a thing. They will go back to their old habit of doing things and be stuck in a plateau like this for a very, very long time, until nature punches them in the face with an injury. So this begs the question, why do we hang on to a losing concept like this? Why do we stick to the same regimen that has stopped working a long time ago? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but it can't be a matter of intellect. I mean, I've seen otherwise super intellectual people from the most prestigious universities with the best grades and whatnot, and even they make this mistake. It has to be something deeply rooted in our human nature. Peter Bevelin explained this perfectly in his book Seeking Wisdom. He states, "Once we have made a commitment, a promise, a choice, taken a stance, invested money or time or effort, we want to remain consistent. We want to feel as if though we have made the right decision. And the more we invest in this behavior, the harder it is to change. The more time, money and effort or pain we invest, the more we feel like we need to continue, and the more highly we value something, whether or not it is right. We don't want to waste our effort, so to speak. This way we protect our reputation and avoid the pain of accepting a loss. If people challenge our decision, we become even more committed that we are right. Like we want to defend our argument, defend that we are right. And the more individual responsibility we feel for our commitment, the harder it is to give up. So when we make an investment, enter into a relationship or any other type of commitment, we tend to seek out evidence that confirm that it was the right decision in the first place, and we try to ignore information that shows it was wrong. This is the human flaw in everything. Let me give you another example to really cement this. Maybe you can even identify with this story I'm about to tell you. I sure did exactly those mistakes when I was just starting out. So suppose you want to set a new record on a particular exercise, a running race or anything. Let's take an Olympic weightlifter as an example. This weightlifter's goal is to snatch 120 kilograms by the end of the year, and suppose we're in January. So the athlete is going to construct an annual plan for that. He's going to divide the year into 3 periods, for example. Do X in period 1 and achieve 100 kilos, do Y in period 2 and achieve 110 kilos, and so forth. So the stage is set, the plans are made. Okay, let's get it. Now initially you may get some success once again, but half a year in, your plan goes to shit. You're growing weaker, you feel overtrained, you strain your body. Now instead of backing off and reevaluating your decisions, accept that a mistake has been made, revising your plan and all of that, what do? Instead you continue with the same program but increase your effort, trying harder at the things that failed in the first place. This is the most irrational thing you can do, because it is a recipe for disaster. But unfortunately this is in my experience, the most common way of responding to a situation like this, especially among beginner athletes. You basically become like this stereotypical gambling addict at the blackjack table or the slot machine, completely possessed by ego and greed. You lose $100, instead of accepting the loss and walking away, you increase your efforts instead with the same losing concept, and you lose your entire paycheck. We think to ourselves, we have already put up all of this effort in this program or training regimen. It is too late to give up. I have made my plans already and I intend to finish that plan. I just can't leave it. Well, yes you can, and there is no shame in this in fact. You should be proud of yourself if you are able to make a mature decision like this. I'll tell you what, mental temperament in situations like this, it is one of the most important qualities you can have as a strength athlete following training programs. And it is very uncommon. Trust me, you will progress way faster and way more efficiently if you follow this mental concept instead of this regular meme that is go hard or go home or no pain, no gain. None of that applies to weight training. Like, obviously you have to work hard in the right moments, but this is a science, it's an art, it's a feeling out process. You can't go hard every day, every second. You just have to go hard occasionally. If anything, the hard work is not making stupid decisions. That is the hard work. So let's say we have reached a plateau and it's time to move on. What are some examples of changes we can make from the previous program? Well, this is a very complicated issue because it depends on many things and it requires a video on its own, but simply put, do something new. Anything but the same training regimen or style you were doing before, because it has stopped working a long time ago. Isn't that enough evidence that something new has to be made? Like, what more do you need to know? But with that said, there is a certain hierarchy of doing things, like things to address. I believe things like diet and sleep should be obvious, but at times they are not, and if this area is faulty, well, you can be sure that this will be your starting point, because those are the basic human needs that will affect a million of other areas if they are not addressed. It is at top of the human pyramid. But if we disregard that and consider it adequate, I believe that this should be the number one priority. And that is addressing all the energy leaks, the weak links, your faulty biomechanics in your lifts that will cost you a shit ton of energy. You hear everywhere that technique is the number one priority. It is like, it has become a meme at this point, like, fix your technique, you need to lift with a straight back and all of that, but I want to try to explain this to you in a deeper concept. Perfect technique, good biomechanics, it's not just important for preventing injury, but also increasing performance. You get better leverage. Like, imagine, just look at this water bucket you can see. It's full of holes, right? You pour water into it, all of the water comes out. This is the same way if you lift with bad technique. You cannot use all of your strength. I have seen otherwise very genetically gifted people, very strong people, so to speak. They lift with faulty technique and they are very strong despite that. But we just do some tiny adjustments, like we tell them to push off the ground a little bit with the legs, tighten the core optimally, just small tweaks like this, and they can increase like 20 kilograms in their lift. I'm not even kidding, like small things like this. Imagine all of the things you are missing out that you feel confident about. And I always want you to remain skeptical about how good your technique really is. Like, you might believe your deadlift or squat is perfect, but unconsciously you might have a gigantic energy leak that is affecting your results and your adaptation to that exercise. I want you to visualize having a world-class coach watching your lift, like someone who has done this for 50 years or something. Their entire life is dedicated to this sport. Visualize him or her watching you as you perform. What do you think this person would tell you? Reflect on that a bit. Would they say, "Oh, good job, you're a world-class athlete, perfect lift"? Would they say that? Next time you're lifting, imagine this person is in front of you watching your lift. I really wish that I could really express in a way for you to understand how much technique and biomechanics really matter, but it is really hard for me. You just have to feel out for yourself, like after those technical tweaks, how much better your performance gets. You have to be open to seeking help from people who have done this longer than you and at a higher level than you. Everything you are trying to figure out right now by yourself will be incredibly time-consuming and inefficient. Join a powerlifting club, join an Olympic weightlifting club, find a coach that can help you out. Train with people who are more technically proficient than you, people who have done this for a long time or competed at a high level. That is the best thing you can do. Now that we have that issue out of the way, and considering you have addressed those weak points properly, other common solutions for breaking out of a plateau can be anything from this following list. Now, this is very individual. I can't really say what would address your problem the best because I cannot monitor your training. Everyone is different. Every puzzle is constructed differently. For instance, if you have been sticking to the low repetition range for long, well, switch to the high repetition range. Instead of doing 3 reps at heavy weights all the time, do 5 to 6 reps for a while, but a little bit lighter. Like, give your body something new. Instead of always maxing out your 1 repetition maximum, well, try to max out your 2 repetition or 3 or 5, and then use that data to evaluate your 1 repetition maximum. There's a lot of calculators that you can use that does this. Like, a lot of people think that they always have to max out their 1 repetition maximum. The 3 rep or 5 rep max, that is just as valuable. Don't forget this. Try some pause variation. Instead of regular back squats, try to pause in the bottom. Give your body something new to feel out. And don't do too many back-to-back sessions. Change the order. Like, don't do 2 heavy squat trainings back-to-back, like Wednesday and Thursday, like that. You need to have a good distance between those sessions. Perhaps you're doing too many sessions altogether. Try removing one. This is a very hard thing to do. Like, we always think that, trust me, less is more oftentimes when it comes to strength training. Less is always more. If you ask any world-class coach, they are very picky about their exercise selection, the duration of the exercise, and they always value quality over quantity when it comes to strength training. Like, they value quality. Instead of just staying at the gym for 5 hours straight doing a bunch of random shit with in a very unproductive manner, they will prioritize few things with very good intensity and very high quality. You can pause this picture and analyze further for yourself. But if there is one solution that will solve everything else that we have talked about today, like the mother of all solutions, it is this. I once again recommend having a qualified coach to help you out. Someone with an open mind who can try new things constantly and see what responds best to you. It is like this hacker who tries out different codes until he breaks the security breach or whatever, just trying out different things and adjusting to the individual. You will save yourself once again time and effort if you have the opportunity to work with a coach like this. You can do this on your own too, obviously, yes. But you will have to go through all the trials and errors of your own that a coach already has went through. A good coach has already gone through everything that you are going through right now. They are 10 steps ahead, and chances are when you have reached your highest potential, well, then you can get the feel of your own body, and then you can start writing the rules for yourself, but you're not at that point right now. If you want to become a good powerlifter, don't train in a commercial gym. Go to a powerlifting club. If you're an Olympic weightlifter, you want to become one, go to a weightlifting club. You must find your niche. You're going to find people there who can help you out. People who are stronger than you, better than you, who can motivate you. Who's going to help you out in your average Planet Fitness? So what, it costs you money. Isn't it better to spend a little money and getting to your goal quicker than trying to figure out everything for yourself and risk adding multiple years to that road? Think about this.